Well, welcome to the Get Fit with Jodelle podcast. I am, as usual, Jodelle, and maybe you've embarked on a journey of reverse dieting and getting your body back from years of metabolic damage and chronic dieting and yo-yo dieting, and you've improved your nutrition, your life, but the only thing left that hasn't really improved is your body. Maybe you don't have those aesthetics you're looking for. So can we really have good health and a fit, toned, trim body too? You betcha. And my next guest is going to tell you how. Today, it's all about getting your aesthetics to match your pro-metabolic health and your healthy habits. So I've invited Cheryl Frost on. She's someone who many of you in the bodybuilding world may be familiar with, or the pro-metabolic world. But this woman is 52 years old, but you would never think it to look at her. And she has the experience and has done and seen it all and knows what works. She's been a police officer, a social worker for 15 years in child protection. She's been an athlete, an adventure racer, a pole vaulter. And most of all, she's been a personal trainer most of her life. She spent an era coaching competition athletes, bodybuilders, fitness models. And she herself has competed in 15 international competitions, world championships, and won Miss Universe, and obtained pro figure card in 2 divisions, and as well as even international judging and running seminars. I'm telling you, this woman's done it all. So after a decade of low carb, high stress, and suppressing her metabolism and her hormones, which many of us can relate to, she had discovered the work of Dr. Ray Peat, who we all love. And in her words, it totally liberated her and transformed her life, her health, her energy, her mood, and her body. She actually won the universe title eating ice cream. This is amazing. And potatoes and doing zero cardio. That was way different than what she used to do in the old mentality. So her passion is helping and coaching people to achieve their health, their mindset, and even their aesthetic goals. And so I had to have her on because many women, many of those you listening, and many of my clients who have come into like finding so much improvement in their health by eating more of a pro-metabolic way, they feel amazing, but they're not seeing the body that they're looking for. And so I consider Cheryl the best person for the job when it comes to dialing in aesthetics, fat loss, and hormones on a pro-metabolic lifestyle. So Cheryl, with all that said, what a pleasure to get to speak to you, and welcome.
Good morning. Hello, Jodelle. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here. I've been a huge fan of your work and have loved all your podcasts for years and all the incredible guests that you've had on. So really privileged and honored to be here today. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I've heard you say that I wanted to start today's podcast with is that you said you don't have to take extreme measures to achieve extreme results. And I love that because that's what a lot of people in the aesthetic world do. They think they have to restrict, and calorie diet and cardio to no end and just beat their body into the ground, which many of us, myself included, have done in the past. But you're saying now we don't have to do that and you can still achieve a body of your dreams. So talk to me about that.
Well, it all comes back to those magic words, metabolism. And I guess coming from my history, as you said, I'd spent probably decades dieting to get myself into great shape to step onto stage. And the way the fitness industry, and we traditionally have done that, is by cutting carbs, low calories, tons of exercise, all which completely runs your body into your ground and suppresses metabolism. So instead, the magic words metabolism, when we look after our metabolism and we focus on our health and our energy and our well-being, the ultimate goal is to support fat loss, not force fat loss. So the traditional fitness way industry of doing it is to force fat loss, which increases cortisol and stress hormones as a way of losing weight, instead of focusing on balance and we supporting our bodies' natural production of energy and letting our own body do the work. So it's about supporting fat loss, not forcing fat loss.
Oh, I love that. Now, I'm sure your walk as a fitness competitor early on is much different than it is now. And I love the part that you won Miss Universe on ice cream. So what did that look like? What was so different in your past that you were doing to achieve results versus now?
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about my lead up to the change to pro-metabolic nutrition and my comp history with that.
Yeah.
So For most of my life, being a comp athlete, it's about getting your body in really extremely low fat and holding onto muscle and top condition.
Mm-hmm.
So the way traditionally we'd always do that is by excess cardio, sometimes up to 2 hours a day of cardio, really low calories. So I did that for years. But after a while of low carb, low calorie, high stress, my metabolism started to become suppressed. My hormones became out of balance. I was having trouble sleeping. I was getting moody. I was getting irritable. I think I was even getting a little bit depressed and miserable. It was becoming really, really hard. And it came to a point where nearly nothing I did, I could actually budge body fat. This was the year I was about to embark on my biggest competition year. And I had a pro card that was the possibility of getting, which is a really big deal in the competition world, but nothing was working. So my metabolism really had just gone, whoa, where cortisol was high, estrogen was high, thyroid was low, nothing was working. So it was in this desperate attempt of going, there has to be a better way. What's going on with my body? How do I get out of this? That I started doing copious amounts of research and discovered the work of Dr. Ray Peat. Now, initially, I actually thought, this can't be true. This is rubbish. You can't really get lean eating sugars and carbs and relaxing and reducing your stress, surely. But I was at such a low point that I needed to give something different a try. When I embarked on the change, I think nearly every coach or every fitness expert were just shaking their heads saying, what are you doing, woman? But I took a while. I took probably nearly 6 months to a year, and I didn't just change my nutrition. I looked at changing all of the factors that could influence stress. That I looked at my lifestyle factors, my sleep, access to sunlight. I paid much more attention to listening to my body. Previously, I wouldn't listen to it. If I was exhausted, I would still train and get up. If I was tired, I would still keep on going. If I was sore and hurting, that's great. It means discipline. So instead, I decided I was going to listen to my body, and I took a totally intuitive approach, and I began slowly increasing and adding more food. And the most remarkable thing happened. I actually started to get lean without trying. So I did it in a slow approach, but I started increasing carbohydrates, particularly simple sugars, natural simple sugars. And what we know through the Ray Peat approach is that your simple sugars are actually the fuel that fuels your thyroid hormone conversion and thyroid functionings.
Right.
So my thyroid started functioning obviously a lot more healthier. And along with that, my metabolism increased. So then I was able to add more food because my metabolism was increasing. And then I started to decrease the amount of cardio I was doing. And I was just going, this can't be true. Is this really happening? I would not have believed it unless I have lived through it and experienced it myself. So I took things slowly. So as I was leading up to the Universe show, each week I increased food and decreased cardio, and only focused on weight training, and even possibly weight trained a little bit less and a lot more intuitively. And so that was the first year where I experienced the liberating, energizing, wonderful benefits of balance, of a body in balance, and what a body in balance can actually achieve. The benefits of a body in balance is that I had more energy because I was sleeping better. I was waking up and I was able to, and wasn't doing as much cardio.
Right.
So I was able to weight train with more intensity. So I was actually having more carbs, more intensity to my weight training. So able to get a lot better results from my weight training as well. My skin was fresher, my moods were greater, I was feeling more motivated, I had greater focus. So everything just snowballed into this beautiful place of everything falling together, of a life in balance. And so one of the things I often say is that it actually doesn't have to be hard when you're in tune with your body. Right. It's when we get out of tune with our body that things become hard. And I think a lot of our work these days is actually helping people to step back in line with balance and their body and nature and the world around them, and perhaps how our lives are meant to be lived. And I think we've gotten a little bit out of balance along the way.
Oh, I love that. No, I'm thinking, I'm kind of like putting myself in your shoes as you're going through all this. I can only imagine how hungry you were, because in the bodybuilding scene, when we were like restrict, 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 we were starving all the time. So when you got to eat more food, it probably was like, that was liberating, because you're like, oh my gosh, I get to eat these foods I love and I'm getting leaner. And so that had to be cool. And then also the aspect of watching yourself increase calories, but watching your body decrease. And I see it so much with clients, but at the same time, there's this fear that's been programmed into us to go, this isn't going to work. So did you have moments of that where you were like, I don't know if I can trust this. Is this really going to work? Were you afraid at all?
Great question. I think it was about totally relearning everything I thought was true.
Okay.
We're told to eat less, cut carbs, exercise more, push when it hurts, be disciplined, show up even if you're tired. And so it was completely relearning all of that to say, actually, the priority is taking care of myself and listening to what my body needs. And this is not a textbook approach, because my physiology and my biology is unique, and I'm going to listen to that. And I think that's a really important message for everybody, is actually being in tune to our rhythms and the rhythms of the world around us and the rhythms of our body. And when we work with our bodies, we actually get far better results. The results were actually, for myself, were quite mind blowing, as I would previously often get my calories down to some, I cringe when I think about it, often possibly even like 1,000 calories a day. And in the end, when I won in the best condition a universe title, I was eating 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day. Right. It was purely because my body was hot, because my metabolism was vibrant. So it was purely because my body was in this really healthy, fast metabolic state, that it was able to burn body fat and put on muscle at a far faster, more efficient rate than ever before.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And then, so talk about, like, when you say pro-metabolic, or when I say pro-metabolic, that, what does that mean to you? Like, what does pro-metabolic mean? Because we hear it in the circuit, but I feel like it's different to everybody. Like you said, there's a bio-individual side of it, but the bottom line is, how is your metabolism working to some extent? So what is it to you? What's pro-metabolic to you mean?
I think the words pro-metabolic are the most magic words in the world, because I think that everything to us as humans. So pro-metabolic for me means pro-thyroid. And the reason I say that is that our metabolism is controlled by our thyroid hormones. So there's not a single cell, organ, system, part of our bodies that isn't controlled by our metabolism. Absolutely. And our metabolism is controlled by our thyroid. It's how fast our cells respire. So being aware of this, so go back, and so metabolism and thyroid hormones control our digestive systems, our cognitive processes, our reproductive systems, our skin, how easily we put on fat, how easily we put on muscle, our thought processes, whether we are anxious, whether we sleep well, our libido. Everything comes back to our thyroid functioning and how it impacts all of our other hormones. So this becomes like the key to me. Pro-metabolic, pro-thyroid has the greatest, metabolism is the greatest impact on weight loss, on health, on longevity, on immune function, on mood. There is nothing else that influences all of our functions more than metabolism. So pro-metabolic, therefore, to me, means anything and everything that improves our metabolism and our thyroid hormone conversions. So when we say pro-metabolic, it's not just nutrition, it's pro-metabolic nutrition. There's pro-metabolic exercise, like a metabolic way to exercise for our body, pro-metabolic lifestyle habits, sunlight, nature. There's pro-metabolic supplements. There's pro-metabolic environmental factors. There's pro-metabolic mindset. And so anything that works to improve our metabolism and our thyroid hormone conversion is what I consider pro-metabolic. So on the opposite hand, we also have anti-metabolic. So they are the nutritional, lifestyle, environmental factors that actually suppress metabolism. So when we want to put this all together, our goal is, and this is where the work of Dr. Ray Peed and many other endocrinologists is absolutely groundbreaking and fascinating. we're looking at all of these factors from nutrition to lifestyle, which work to improve thyroid hormone conversion, which impacts all our other hormones, our protective hormones and our stress hormones, to work to improve our metabolic rate, because fat loss is most effective when metabolism is fast.
Yeah.
A fast metabolism is the most effective way to improve fat loss and health and mood. So it all comes back to metabolism. And I'm probably talking too much, but this was the key to me. So previously I had, for most of my life, and I think for most of us, we believe that it's calories in or how much exercise we do that impacts fat loss in our body, where it's actually our metabolism that has the greatest impact on how much fat we lose and how well we feel in our bodies, where we've been so conditioned to think it's all about the food in or what exercise we do, where that is only such a small part of it. It is actually how that food impacts our metabolic functions. So pro-metabolic to me is life. It's what's required for a healthy, lean body. It's what is required for focus and good moods, and it's the magic words that for all humanity.
I love that.
might be a little bit extreme, but I suppose for me it's been the most liberating, life-giving, incredible things to actually really be aware of all these factors that actually have the great impact upon our metabolism in our life.
Yeah. And what's cool about you, that's just a side note here, is like when you go to her website and look at all that she offers, it's like you get energized. Like you go there and you're like, you can almost feel your metabolism increasing just looking at her website, because it's like vibrant and there's all these pictures, and she's just got all these great tips and just wonderful blog posts on anything and everything. So side note there, I'll have that in the show notes for people to check that out. But it's energizing to go there. Now, myself too, when I went into what you called the anti-metabolic world of like restrict and chronic cardio, the symptoms that people, like if somebody's new to this, listening to Pro-Metabolic, and they're like, well, how do I know that my metabolism's not working, or I've done damage to it, that metabolic damage? What does that look like? Like for me, it was like I lost my cycle for 7 years. I don't know if you had any issues with your cycle, or, what else happened? Like we were probably cold all the time.
I think this is actually it's a really great question, Jodelle. I think so many of us today are living in a low metabolic state and don't even realize. Exactly. I think we've become so accustomed to high stress, to darkness, to scrolling through phones, to exhaustion, to eating quick health foods, that so many of us have got hormonal issues, have suppressed our metabolism, are living exhausted, are fatigued, we're not sleeping well, we've got problems with our skin, we're bloating, reproductively challenged, and sometimes we don't even, it's become such a way of life that I don't even think people sometimes realize they're in a low metabolic state. Once you've actually can experience what a healthy metabolism is, then all of a sudden it's the realization of, wow, I spent all those years exhausted, fatigued, bloating, moody, irritable, depressed, anxious, low, and I didn't need to. So because metabolism does control everything. But back to your question, what would a low metabolic state look like? I think it even is things such as anxiety is linked to low thyroid function. And we're seeing such an increase in people struggling with anxiety and with mood and lack of concentration. Digestion is totally, and our GI system is totally linked to thyroid function and metabolism. And we've seen more allergies, more bloating, more digestive issues than ever before. I think we're seeing as the greatest point in history, more hormonal issues, more PCOS, more fibroids, more issues with infertility. Our hormone balance is directly related to thyroid. When thyroid is suppressed, estrogen increases, progesterone decreases. We're going through an era where there's so many chemicals in everything that we use, and that it's increasing that estrogen load. And women it's commonplace for women to experience PMS symptoms or painful periods or hugely difficult issues with menopause. It has actually become accepted that this is the way life is. And that's also part of a low thyroid or low metabolic state. But for me, what I see or work with the most is particularly women, because women are more hormonally sensitive, is struggles with losing weight.
Yes.
Because a fast metabolism equals fast fat burning. And when metabolism is slow, it slows down fat burning, or your body holds on to everything that it can. And so I'm seeing all these women who are trying so hard, who are eating really strict low-calorie diets, who are exercising so hard and are not getting anywhere. In fact,
preach it. Yeah.
Sometimes they're putting on weight from crazy low-calorie diets, because it's not about the calories in versus out. It's about your metabolism. So when we stop and work towards improving metabolism, we see all these things in our life start to come into balance. And I talk to people who say, I didn't even realize feeling good was an option. I didn't even know that I could ever feel this great. Yeah. So probably, I mean, primarily weight is a really big thing for women in our society, and the impact it has upon our emotions and our approach to life. And so many people are impacted by their weight because they have suppressed their metabolism from trying so hard to get lean.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like really every issue that we face as far as like our hormones, our immune system, our gut, like it all stems from a proper functioning metabolism. But especially, and like you, the same thing I'm hearing is these women that are like, I'm doing this and this and this, and my body won't budge. And so they come into, maybe they find the pro-metabolic way of eating, or they find Dr. Pete like you and I did. And they start doing the milk and the orange juice, and they start feeling amazing, and their adrenals are calming down, and their metabolism's improving, and their thyroid's improving. But they're actually maybe putting on weight, which some people will in the circuit says, okay, you got to put on a little bit of weight because it's going to take some time for your body to respond. But that's really hard for a lot of them. So because that wasn't what they were in it for, they want the health, but they also want the body. So,
of course,
even with your journey, when you first went pro-metabolic, was it just immediately your weight came down, or did you have a moment where your body's like, hang on a second, and put on some weight?
So first thing is, we're all different, and we all have different responses to things. And I think part of this process is actually learning to understand your body and how you work. Now, I'm very much aware of pro-metabolic coaches who say it's acceptable to put on weight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for my business, in that I coach athletes, if I was to put on weight on somebody, I'd be quickly sacked as a coach. And so it was my job has always been to help people get into great shape, but now it's getting to great shape healthily. So I've had to learn to refine that process a lot so that you don't put on weight. And you don't need to put on weight. Right. I think the weight gain happens when people go full on into it all and throw everything onto it after coming from eating hardly any carbs. The next moment are eating, quarts of juice and quarts of milk and going, wow, what's happening? I should be So for me, it's always been a bit of a monitored and measured process still. Ultimately, I do think intuitive eating is the most healthy for our mind and body. But often when working with someone to come from a low metabolic state to making this work, I find I do need to track and measure and monitor a little bit so that we can get the balance right. Yeah. And when I say the balance right, it's about getting the balance of your macronutrients right at every meal. It's about keeping blood sugar levels even. And so I think sometimes some people just throw themselves gung-ho into it and are eating perhaps way too many carbs and are not balancing that. Ultimately, we do want to have more carbs than we have protein, but it's about taking it as a gradual, slow process and adapting with and letting your body adapt and mold with it. Yeah. When it happened for me, it was an increase of calories. I started from my starting point, which was low, and changed my nutrition, and then gradually worked to increase those calories week after week after week after week after. Yeah. But it's not just about the food. And I find when I work with some people and they're going, all I'm doing is putting on weight and I'm eating what you say. Sometimes it's not just the nutrition. Yeah. We actually also got to stop and look at lifestyle factors. Yeah. And I find that when many people move to a metabolic approach, it's because they've tried so many things. As a result of trying so many things, their bodies are actually already a bit stressed and a bit adrenalized, and their bodies are already maybe not processing sugars properly because they haven't had sugars for so long.
Yeah.
And they're used to working so hard because they want to get these results. So sometimes in my programs, I actually not only prescribe nutrition, I prescribe rest time, journaling time. Instead of getting up and doing your 5 a.m. walk, you're going to sit down, we're going to journal, and you're going to read, and you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to do some quiet breathing for 10 minutes. And then when the sun rises, you go to sit in the sun. So often the process, which is a pro-metabolic process, and working with our body, is changing not just the nutrition, but going back and looking at all these other factors. And I must say, when you get those factors right, it really does work.
Yeah.
It's basic physiology. This is basic biology. It's basic endocrinology, that when our hormones are actually functioning at their optimal state of being, when our thyroid is producing enough thyroid hormones, everything does work. So if someone's putting on weight, we need to stop and look at what are all those other factors. Where is their stress? Because stress is so insidious. Well, what's your routine with the sunlight? What do you do at nighttime? What do you do when you wake? What are the thoughts that go through your head? And it's unpacking all of these. And we can do that systematically. And it's not hard.
Yeah.
We're not talking about accomplishing incredible feat. We're talking about getting in tune with our bodies, the world, the environment, slowing down, enjoying sunlight on your skin. And that's how hormonal synthesis happens when sunlight hits our skin, and that's how ATP energy is created from the sunlight. And it works. And I say time and time again, it doesn't have to be hard.
No.
In fact, a body in balance is the most beautiful, delicious, enjoyable thing that can possibly exist.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you mentioned the part that it's usually not supposed to be that you have to put on weight, because I, like you, when I work with clients, I'm like, you might have put on weight, but there's other factors involved, because you don't really have to when you switch to more of a pro-metabolic, because your metabolism can respond right away. But I do appreciate that there has to be a gradual approach, because you can't go from like keto diet to nothing but orange juice and milk and expect to look amazing, so there's going to be a little transition, which people forget about because they're all or nothing. Sometimes they're like, okay, now I'm all in. And so we do need sometimes that coaching process of let's transition, let's just add in a little bit at a time. So just like your body didn't turn fat overnight, we can actually reverse it. Not overnight. It's going to take a little bit longer. So yeah, and
it can take longer. But you don't need to. I do not believe, and I have rarely seen people put on weight when we pay attention to what our body needs, and we pay attention to how our body and our mind live and interact with the world around us, and with the people around us, and with the food that we eat, and with our sleep routines. And when we combine all of this together, it doesn't have to be hard, and our body does respond, and we don't need to put on weight with that at all.
Perfect. Now, why is weight training where it's at? Like, I know the answer to this, but when it comes to building a better body, as opposed to doing cardio, since you said you got to the point where you didn't really do cardio, which many women are programmed. I know you mentioned we're programmed earlier, and like it is as if we've got to undo the programming. So it's like wiping your computer screen, or your whole system clean, and going back to default, because we have been programmed to think that cardio is where it's at, but it's not. So tell me about that.
No. First of all, I'll talk about cardio. So when I say I'm not a proponent of cardio anymore at all, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy walking on the beach, or going for a bush walk, or walking out into the park. And most mornings when the sun rises, I'm in the park across the road.
Wonderful.
But what I mean by cardio, it's not I've got to keep my heart rate at this particular point. I've got 5 more minutes to go. I've got to keep on going. I can't stop. So that's what I refer to. It's not like I've got to fit in 4 cardio sessions this morning and I've got to do it right now. It's not the must do, hard work, the exhausting. So when I do cardio now, it's not cardio, it's enjoyable movement, and it's getting sunlight and walking in nature, which has a totally different metabolic effect on our body to exhausting or excessive cardio. So that's probably what I make the difference between is seeing somebody on the treadmill pumping it out, sweat pouring off. That's exhausting and excessive and suppresses thyroid functioning, which is just going to work against everything that we're trying to achieve. They've actually found there's some fascinating science, and the scientists are even saying we don't know how or why, but when we walk in nature, it actually upregulates thyroid functioning, suppresses cortisol, improves cognitive functioning, and there's all these incredible hormonal processes that come from actually being in nature. So it's a beautiful thing. So get off the treadmill, get outside, and enjoy this and enjoy the sunlight. Your body will be better for it. So that's my little bit on cardio. But if you want to change your body, then weight training is where it's at. Yeah. Weight training also, the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest. So the more muscle we have. So if I'm sitting here talking to two women, both the same age, both the same weight, but one's got more muscle, they're going to be burning more calories right now, this second, every hour, and therefore are able to eat a higher calorie diet because their body requires more calories to maintain it. So muscle is the most metabolically active tissue. So the more muscle we have, the more more ATP we produce, the more energy we produce, and the more active our body is. Muscle is the only thing that's going to put tone and firmness and shape to a body. So if we, and you don't have to necessarily be pumping weights at the gym. You can be grabbing some bands. You can be moving things around the house. You can be doing push-ups, sit-ups, squats, anything, even walking up a hill. Anything that adds resistance to your muscle will actually work better for you than doing a boot camp or a pump class. So, and when we talk about weight training, my weight training changed consistently and deliberately when I won my pro card to become more focused on compound moves, exercises that deliver bang for your buck. And I guess probably the key part was recovery. So not pushing myself when I was tired, making sure when I was at the gym, I was breathing through my nose, not my mouth. It was about ensuring adequate oxygen and carbon dioxide levels throughout my body. It was rest between sets and properly fueling my body. Never again training in a fasted state. All that is catabolic and is going to break down muscle and is going to give you everything you don't want and no results. And so focusing on nutrition to build muscle and to recover, and sometimes even reducing the number. I see a lot of women training 5, 6, 7 days a week, as well as doing cardio, are just not giving their bodies time to recover, to build, to rest, and to repair. And again, it doesn't have to be hard or scientific. We want to stress our muscles. We want to give our bodies time to repair. Take breaks between your sets. Breathe properly. Focus on good form. Don't rush or don't do anything. Really simple. And in fact, it's not hard. Which is the amazing thing. We try to complicate many of our training programs, and we complicate the way we do things. It actually is really simple when you take care of yourself. When your metabolism is good, your thyroid is functioning well, your body's producing the progesterone and lower amounts of estrogen, your body will very happily put on muscle where you want it to go. And sometimes then when we've been working with women and I've seen metabolism just start to soar, and I've had some incredible 50 and 60-year-old women who we have got to eating 4,500 calories a day, and they have these leanest bodies with chiseled muscle. And then we've had to get very, very specific about our weight training because everything they do works, everything. So if they do a week of really intense shoulder training, their shoulders are popping, these deltoids. If they're doing lots and lots of leg training, they're getting these. So we have to be very intentional then because everything works.
Oh, wow. And
so often we see women at the gym who've been there years after years doing the same thing and nothing changes. So if nothing is changing, you've got to look at that and go, why? And what do I need to fix? Because we should get results from the work that we put into what we do.
Oh, I love that so much. And I had to pull out the nugget of where you were like enjoyable movement, because so many women feel it's a have to. It doesn't have to be a have to. And especially like,
well said.
Even Dr. Pete, when I asked him about exercise one time, he didn't mention a word of exercise. He goes, chopping wood is a really great way when you're outside. Like he goes into chopping
Lovely.
wood, and he
Yeah.
didn't mention a word about you should do this or you should do that. He just started talking about chopping wood. And I'm like, chopping
Mm,
wood is probably an excellent workout because most guys that would do that and women could really enjoy themselves doing that. So
absolutely.
yeah,
And
it can be enjoyable. It doesn't have to be
that's right.
like you
Totally.
said, it doesn't have to be hard either. I think you should
That's
make a
right.
shirt that says it doesn't have to be hard because I've heard you say it several
That's
times.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. Absolutely. And I just want to be careful of my anti-cardio stance. Movement is essential to life.
Sure.
Our bodies were made to move. We need to move, but we don't need to make that movement stressful
Right.
or exhausting or excessive.
Right.
We should be outdoors. We should be
Yeah.
doing natural things. We shouldn't be sitting behind a desk all day long. So whatever that movement, we should be playing with our children
Mhm.
or throwing a frisbee or
Yeah.
walking on a beach or throwing a stick to our dog or
Mhm.
chopping wood.
Yeah.
Our bodies need to move.
Yeah.
And then when we don't, if we have a day job and we don't have the capacity to move, then yeah, weight training plays a part. And I guess for me, as figure competing was one of my primary sports, then building muscle was also very an essential component of that. So planning that in, but enjoyable movement is the essence of life and what we need to do and be.
Yes, I love that. And yeah, I'm not an anti-cardio person. In fact, my favorite form of enjoyable movement is paddleboarding, which if you
Oh,
want to go a good long
strength
distance,
training.
yeah.
Yeah,
But also, I mean, you can get your heart rate up if I
yeah,
want to go for a long distance, it can be an endurance training session. So, but I enjoy it. It's nothing that while I'm
yes.
doing it, I'm looking at some sort of Fitbit or something because I don't wear those and go, oh, how many calories am I burning? I can't stop until I go for an hour and 20 minutes or whatever. I just go. And when I'm done, I
Yeah,
stop.
lovely.
And my
Yeah,
body
lovely.
loves that because it takes the stress out of me. It doesn't put more stress in me. And I think that's that enjoyable movement you're talking about is do
Yeah.
stuff that moves your body, but also has purpose and meaning and makes you feel good. And it isn't another stressor because the world has too many stressors for us. Yeah.
Totally. And
Yeah.
that's probably why you've got those beautiful deltoids from all those paddleboarding.
I'm
It's
working
great
on them.
movement.
And that's the thing too, is like I work with, as I'm sure you do with my clients, is like accepting where we are right now. Like even
Mm,
if you don't like your body where it is, you can accept that if this is as good as it gets, can I be okay with it while still simultaneously going, I can work on these things while I'm accepting my body where it is. I still am nice enough to my body to go, however, I'm going to try these new things just to see if I can elicit some more results. But the mindset is really important. And I know that's something that you've mentioned in a lot of things that I've read on blogs and things like that. So talk about the mindset a little bit.
Uh, um, as you probably know, I also work as a therapist. So I do two
Yeah.
days a week doing trauma therapy and doing some work as a RTT therapist with people in their mindset. And it just goes absolutely amazing with my metabolic work because there is a mind-body connection. And this is something I wish everybody was aware. So a thought creates an emotion, which elicits a hormone, which creates a chemical reaction. Probably the other way around: thought, emotion, chemical reaction, hormone. So therefore, we have this mind-body connection. So, for example, I'm thinking, "Oh, I'm really stressed. I've got so much to do. I don't know how I'm going to get it done. I'm so busy. I'm so busy." My thought, my then emotion is stress. So then my body starts releasing cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And then the chemical response to cortisol, if I don't relax and bring myself back down, is fat storage, thyroid suppressing, affecting estrogen levels and all these things, all started from a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can work the other way around, our mind-body connection. I can think, oh, I'm so excited about the work that I'm doing at the moment. I'm getting such great results. I'm doing really, really well. So that's my thought. So then the emotion I have is this excitement emotion, and there's purpose and meaningful. And that emotion creates a hormone of dopamine, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Dopamine is linked to upregulating thyroid functionings and metabolic processes and energy. So the negative thought of feeling overwhelmed and stress ends up physiologically storing fat and suppressing metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the thought, oh, I'm so excited about what I'm doing at the moment, everything's going so great, can end up being thyroid promoting and energy producing.
Yeah.
So there is a mind-body connection, and I find that absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What we think does create chemical reactions, which can create hormones, which affect our physiology, which affects our metabolism, which affects everything what we do. So our thoughts can affect our mood, our thoughts can affect everything that we do. Our thoughts affect whether we even can burn fat or we actually put on fat. Yeah. And I think our thinking is actually one of the most metabolic things we can do for our body, because of the chemical reactions that occur as a result of the particular thoughts that we think. Mm-hmm. Now, we can control our thinking, and we can control our thoughts. For some people, it's a lot harder. We do know that when stress is high or cortisol is high, it suppresses our resilience to cortisol, and it makes all of that thinking process a lot harder, which is sometimes when the very first week of working with somebody, the very first thing I do is we cut back on all exercise, and we spend a lot of time with our thought processes, our affirmations. What do I think about myself? And capturing any of those limiting negative beliefs and stopping them right there and then, because they create stress, and we're wanting to bring ourselves out of that mode. So our thought processes actually have a significant impact upon our physiology and upon our weight loss. And I've seen that years in practice, where I've seen a woman come in who's got so many things working right for her body, but can't lose weight because her self-talk is, I'm not good enough. It will never happen. My family genetics are bad. I've always been this way. And so she's just convincing her body and herself that it's never going to happen. Right. Where I've actually sometimes seen many, many women who I adore, who actually are probably not doing many great things right, but they believe in themselves, right, and they think they're great, and they're rolling through the punches, and God bless them, they're getting great results. Yeah. And I think our so much starts from up here, and how we talk to ourselves. And I even think, and I talk to people about being very aware of the first words you say to yourself when you wake to start the day, because that's going to dictate how the day goes. Is that going to be, oh, do I have to get up out of bed? Oh, another day. Oh, what am I going to eat? Or is it going to be, woohoo, I'm going to have a great day today. And we set the scene for everything falling in place. So I think the thoughts we think are very, very powerful. I often say that success on the outside starts on the inside. Yeah. So before we even see success out there, it's got to start up here. I love that. And the other thing I often refer to, and I don't know which philosopher this came from, but the thought that all things are created twice in reality, but the first place it's created is in your mind. And when you think about anything that's ever been created in the world, from architecture to unique bodies to dreams and projects, it's all started in someone's mind. So everything is created twice, but it starts in your mind first. So until you can see it and believe it and own it, or be part of that process in your thinking, it's not going to manifest in your physical body. I think that's a really important part. And sometimes when you're working with women who never really have felt great in their body, that's really hard, changing some of those beliefs, because years and years of not achieving the success they set out to achieve has created a belief that it's never going to happen. Yeah. And so it's a really hard process to actually break. But that's actually where we need to start the work first, is how we think about ourselves.
Oh, if I could stand up and applaud right now, I would. That was like so good. And you're so right. And that a side note that I want to mention is, like, the voices that we hear that are sometimes these negative, like self-critical voice, it's not really you. Like, it's not you, because if you knew you, and if you really know yourself, you know that you would never say some of these things to yourself. So decipher whose voice it is. Is it a parent that told you certain things about your body wasn't perfect? Was it kids at school that you're hearing over and over? Was it a boyfriend? Was it a girlfriend? Like, is this the voice that you're hearing that you think is yours, but it's actually somebody else's? And how would you talk to yourself if you could get rid of that voice? So that's one thing I want to say. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, I think you're a Wayne Dyer fan, because you sound like if you change if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so when, like, what you were, what he said that's not my quote, that's Wayne Dyer. But like, it's when you look at your body in a way that you're like, I'm doing all the right things, I'm taking all the right measures, I'm making these steps happen, I believe in myself, you're going to see change just in your own even perception of yourself. You're going to have a better
Absolutely.
outlook, and then the body will follow suit too.
Absolutely, you are so spot on. And I think, I mean, I've been obviously in this industry for a long time, but 20, 30 years ago, we thought that thinking and subconscious mind, our thought process was all a bit Pollyanna and for the hippies.
Yeah.
Neuroscience has come a long way now, and we're seeing, even Joe Dispenza and a lot of work now being done on actually understanding that the subconscious mind and the thoughts that we think really do dictate our physiology. So that mind-body connection again, and now science is starting to actually prove the placebo effect and all the benefits from what we think actually does play out in life. Yeah. So yeah, you're 100% in what you say there.
Oh, I love it. Well, so are you. So I haven't had, you have a brand new publication called the Pro-Metabolic Blueprint, and I haven't had a privilege of reading through the entire thing, but what I've looked at so far, it's brilliant, and it's just what we need in this time of like what we're talking about, these women that are like, I got the health dialed in, but where's my body coming in at? I mean, you even have a plan in there laid out, which is really brilliant. But I love that when you look at it, you have this approach of like, if people are just wanting to achieve overall better metabolism, here's this, but here's some tips for those of you looking to cut and see the results with fat loss. So let's go into a few of those tips, if you don't mind sharing. Like when you cut, what is some strategies that women who are like, I'm dialing this in, but I need some more tips to really see my muscles and see my striations and stuff like that. So
okay, so from a body composition perspective, the greatest results happen when you're actually starting from a high metabolic place. That's when we can actually cut most effectively. So I will never even go there with cutting an athlete unless their metabolism is fast. If someone comes to me at a late stage, I'm doing a competition in 2 months and my metabolism is slow, I say we're not going to be able to go there. So number one, we must start from a high metabolic place, and then we can make the most effective cuts. Okay. But in the process of getting to a high metabolic place, I often find many people's bodies start to dial in along their way because everything is working more efficiently. Their digestion is efficient, their energy production is high, their body's utilization of their calories. So a lot of people will actually get into great shape in the process of improving metabolism. But if we want to go, okay, I need to dial in harder and dial in faster, one of my favorite tricks is actually replacing my starches with simple sugars. So going from complex carbs to simple carbs. So I'm not at all anymore an advocate for no carbs, low carbs. Right. All that does is suppress metabolism and set you up to fail, set you up to rebound. Any deprivation results in dysfunctional food patterns. So if we want to dial in, we still keep a high carb diet, but we change our carb sources. So sometimes that last week, or we do a few days where I will increase the simple sugars, the natural, clean, delicious, healthy, simple sugars such as our ripe tropical fruit, raw honey, dairy products, and reduce rice, potatoes, sourdough, as the simple sugars are far more of a metabolic stimulator than your complex carbs. As we know, simple sugars are a sucrose, which is a disaccharide made of both fructose and glucose. Now, the wonderful things about simple sugars, which increase metabolism exponentially, is that the fructose in a disaccharide is able to enter, as you know, the cell without the need of insulin. So your piece of watermelon or your orange juice is able to, the fructose enables that to enter the cell with the potassium. The glucose gives you instant energy. And so when you've got that into your cell, what that's doing is increasing your thyroid hormone conversion. So T4 to T3 is happening at a faster rate. So therefore you're increasing metabolism, so you're burning fat quicker. So the simple sugars are the most powerful metabolic stimulator that we can possibly have. When I'm wanting to dial it in, I actually start eating more meals a day to
Mm-hmm.
keep my metabolism going, because simple sugars are digested quicker as well. So if you leave it too long, we sometimes risk blood sugar level maybe dropping and having some adrenaline or cortisol. So not cutting calories, but lots of frequent meals that are balanced throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping blood sugar level balance is an absolute key. So to do that is just ensuring that every carb you have is balanced with the protein and a fat, and keeping your blood sugar levels even, really even. Now, this one is odd, but when I'm wanting to dial it in, prioritizing sleep. Our body burns more fat in the REM stages of sleep than it actually does when we're up. And if we're wanting to recover, we need that sleep to recover. So actually prioritizing more sleep is actually a strategy in a cut week than it is actually, which goes against everything that we thought that we should do. So eating more simple sugars, increasing coconut oil. Coconut oil is very thermogenic. So to cut, I'm wanting to do everything I can to increase my heat production. So my body is just is burning fat at this really high rate. So simple sugars, saturated fat, more sleep. Salt is very thermogenic. So all meals are salted. And so that's probably just some of the key things I use at a cutting phase.
Oh, awesome. Like this is so not mainstream. So the bodybuilders listening to this are like, what did she just say? Like I'm supposed to eat dairy on cut week. Like, yeah. So that's really cool. Now, outside of nutrition and exercise, because we talked about that, what are some lifestyle tips that cut the fat, like that are really going to dial it in for people?
Yeah, this is a great. I'm so glad you asked me to talk about this, because as I was saying before, I used to think it was just my calories and the exercise to get me into shape. Now I know that is only actually one portion of it. What our ultimate goal is for our metabolism to be fast and healthy. When your metabolism is fast and healthy, it favors fat loss. Fast metabolism favors fat loss every day. So what are all the things we can do to get our metabolism fast? Yes, we can eat pro-metabolic nutrition, and avoid anti-metabolic nutrition, poofers. So we want to get our metabolism faster than nutrition, but our lifestyle and environmental factors play a huge role in metabolism. Sometimes I wonder if maybe even more than nutrition. So the first... And so we're looking at stress, and that's probably we probably could do a whole podcast on stress on its own, as what actually is stress. And it's a lot more than just being stressed out. It's stress is lack of sunlight, lack of sleep. It's tension at work. It's feeling too busy. It's not having fun, not engaging in anything that you enjoy in your life. Actually increases stress. It's conflict in relationships, or not being able to express your emotions. Stress is suppressed emotions. Stress is not having a purpose, or feeling meaningful, or feeling worthy. Stress is unresolved trauma. There's so many things that stress is in our life. Stress increases cortisol, increases estrogen, suppresses thyroid functioning, and stress. I even think a huge part of this. I'm getting ahead of myself. So going back to some of the things which also increases stress, I just want to quickly talk about is our rhythm of our life.
Yeah.
So when I talk about that, I'm talking about how we access sunlight and what our sleep routines are like and what we do at nighttime. So we now know that, and this is also part of Dr. Ray Peat's work, as well as many endocrinologists, that darkness is a stress, that bright lights at nighttime are a stress on our body. That lack of sunlight causes a progesterone deficiency. That lack of sunlight suppresses thyroid functioning and increases cortisol. That darkness increases cortisol. And we've become a society where we're staying up. Most people stay up really late at night, scrolling through phones with these bright lights emitting, or big lights above them, and then us either sleeping in or not getting outside and getting morning sunlight.
Yeah.
This is actually really huge, and I don't know if probably many people might be aware of Dr. Huberman's podcast, and he talks a lot about the importance of sunlight and the retina of your eye. It creates your circadian rhythms when we get sunlight in the morning and sunlight on our skin. It's a sunlight that, when it's sunlight on our skin, it controls hormonal synthesis, so it helps our body create more progesterone, which helps us be more resilient to stress, and has all those beautiful things that progesterone does. And so we're staying up late at night. We're increasing our cortisol. We're out of sync with our circadian rhythms and our sleep patterns. So one of the very first things I ever talk to people about, and in any of the books I've ever written, is actually getting in tune with your body rhythm and the rhythm of the world around you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really lucky. I live in Australia, so we have sunshine all the time, and we can wake up and we've got good rhythms. And so I know that's actually not always the case for people in the Netherlands or in other parts of the world. And so then red light therapy can actually be really useful for helping regulate. And I think you are an expert on red light therapy from listening to all the amazing information you've shared over the years. And going on to stresses at nighttime, I'm a huge advocate for blocking the blue light, for wearing orange glasses, for candlelights, for people with really suppressed metabolism, avoiding bright lights, putting candles on at nighttime, and being aware of your lighting around you, getting up with the sunlight, getting sunlight immediately upon your skin. So that's probably one of the first strategies, is getting in rhythm. So rhythm not only mean rhythm with your sleep, rhythm with the sun, but rhythm with your nutrition and eating. Eat when you awake. And I find the more regular we can get our bodies, the greater our results. So regular eating times, regular wake and sleep times, regular sunlight exposure, and our body starts to adapt to some of that as well. Stress. So stress is probably the number one cause for suppressing metabolism. We want a fast metabolism, so we've got to look at where that stress comes from. We'll probably go into more details about stress another day, but I think there's a lot of people that are actually sit with a lot of emotional stress today in today's world. And we haven't been taught how to express that. There are people that sit with a lot of limiting beliefs and thought processes which cause stress. And we need to know how to affirm ourselves and how to have faith and believe in ourselves. We need to know how to manage conflict and how to deal with resentment and pain and anger and betrayal, as that all works against us and impacts some of those things. So that's just like just a few, and I probably could talk all day, and if you give me the green light, I'll keep on going.
Well, I'm definitely going to have you back, because you're right. We should do a whole podcast on stress, what it does to the metabolism, how to reverse the effects of stress on the system, even as far as like people who are caregivers, and you can't change that stress, but you can help your body adapt better to the stress that you're under. So that could be a whole nother thing, because I would love to have this conversation again. You're so easy to talk to, and this would be great.
Can I add one thing about that? It is that one of the key factors that I often use in working with people and with myself is, I think so many of us operate on such a high stress level, sometimes we're not even aware that we are constantly in a high stressed state. There's been some fascinating research that shows is just you can only take 10 minutes to induce a relaxation response, which will lower cortisol. And so it's about becoming in tune with yourself. And I talk to people about every day just popping one of these strategies in to induce a relaxation response. Once the relaxation response is induced and you're operating from your parasympathetic nervous system, your cortisol levels are going to reduce and your thyroid's going to become upregulated again. So some people, they need more than 10 minutes to induce a relaxation response, but we want to break that body pumping out this high level cortisol all the time. So it can be things such as 10 minutes of just quiet breath work of breathing through our nose, as nasal breathing is connected with your parasympathetic nervous system. It can be 10 minutes of listening to a meditation or listening to a recorded self-hypnosis. It can be 10 minutes of just sitting in the sunlight and closing your eyes and feeling the warmth of the sun on your body. It can be 10 minutes coloring in and just calming your body and quietly coloring in. So there are a lot of strategies we can use, but it's really important on a regular basis to take some time out to get your body to just relax, whatever that takes for you. And everybody is different, and you've got to work out, what is it for me that I can feel my body recentering, my breathing calming down, as that is actually essential for all metabolic processes as well. So I think that we have become a little bit out of touch with ourselves and what it actually means to relax and to have fun and to feel happy and to feel calm. And I'm not getting all hippie on us, but it actually is an essential part of suppressing cortisol, enabling progesterone to, because when cortisol is high, progesterone is low, which creates that estrogen dominant state. Estrogen dominant state is a low thyroid state. A low thyroid state is a fat storing, low energy, exhausting and depressing state. So anything we can do that helps reduce that cortisol to increase these other protective hormones is going to be beautiful for us.
I 100% agree. And I couldn't tell people what I do, which is what I call water therapy. Like I always go out and find a river or a creek or a lake, because I live in the Midwest. But when I'm at the beach, it's you can think of it in terms of like when people go on vacation, they actually come back lighter and leaner. Is it really that you got rid of the stress, or is it that you sometimes they spend it in water? And I just challenge anybody to go spend time in water and tell me that you don't feel leaner after a couple days. Like be in water, be in the ocean, be in a river, and be grounded and earthed to the earth, and tell me that you don't feel leaner. And then if you make that a regular practice, I always feel my leanest when I spend the most time in water. So
I'm jumping on the inside hearing you say that. And I miss grounding as one of the most essential ways. You know, bare feet on the grass, gardening, picking flowers. But water is amazing.
It is amazing.
And in my work with my trauma clients, water probably is actually one of the most essential aspects of healing for people. And if you've done the research about the impact of negative ions around water, particularly around rivers, waterfalls and lakes, and what the negative ions do for your mood, for your metabolic functions, for your cognitive functions, for your taking you from a stress state to using your parasympathetic nervous system, water is the most influential way of actually calming the body. So you are so on point with that.
Wow, we're doing this again because you and I are like this. So
great.
Now, I want people to know about your metabolic blueprint. So tell them how they can find that. And I'm going to have a code for them to use that you've been generous enough to share too. But tell us about that and where they can find that.
Oh, thank you. I've been working this for a long time. As you probably know, I've created a number of meal plans to help people with choosing the right nutritional approach. But what the Metabolic Blueprint is I've called it 100+ solutions. So it is not only the nutritional solutions, what are the metabolic lifestyle solutions? You know, such grounding, sunlight, sleep routines. What are the exercise solutions that increase metabolism? And our exercise solutions are recovery, training in the afternoon, nutrition, weight training, enjoyable movement. What are the mindset solutions that increase metabolism? And there are some of the things such as relaxation responses and the thought processes. What are the supplement solutions? As there are, Epsom salts and magnesium, and there's salt, caffeine. And how can we use supplements in a natural way to improve metabolism? So there are all the solutions to improve metabolism. So sometimes it's just an easy snapshot to go to actually grab what are the things I can do that are going to improve my metabolic health. Because let's remember that fat loss favors a fast metabolism. Great health favors a fast metabolism. Great mood and energy favors a fast metabolism. I think, as I said at the very beginning, pro-metabolic, I think, are the magic words for all of our existence, because when our metabolism is healthy and functioning well, everything about us works well.
Yeah.
And so it's 100, the Metabolic Blueprint is 100+ solutions of research-based, science-based, evidence-based, experience-based solutions and strategies that will improve metabolic health.
Oh, awesome. And tell them the name of your website. Where can they find you?
Thank you. Yes. It's Pro-Metabolic Life. Quite simple. So www.ProMetabolic Life.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. One last question and I'll let you go. It's my favorite question or my favorite quote from Audrey Hepburn, which is, I believe that every day should have one exquisite moment in it. So Cheryl, I would like to know what your exquisite moment is today.
That's beautiful. I absolutely love that question, Jodelle, and I'm going to have it. I call them magic moments. That I have a journal beside my bed, and every night I write out my magic moments from my day. And I think it's one of the most beautiful ways of, during the day, keeping your mind focused on what those magic moments. Life's actually not about the big things. That what the beautiful things in life are actually all the little interactions with people. The flower that I saw blossom, holding a warm coffee in my hand, the warmest shower on my skin, smiling at a random person on the streets. These are the magic moments that actually create life. Life is about happy, small moments all tied together, not one big success. And I've been very blessed in that I see the good in everything around me. But that also probably could be trained and learnt to. So I find magic, beautiful moments around me every day. I find your smile is beautiful. Our interaction today has been lovely. Thinking about metabolism is magic. I love holding a warm cup of coffee and feeling the warmth in my hand.
Amen.
And I think this is just beautiful. I live in Australia and we have blue skies and we have birds chirping. And I sit out on a deck and every day I sit there and just think, this is just beautiful. I'm not overlooking any magnificent $1 million view, but it's a blue sky. And to me, it's always, the sky is always magic. And I look back over my phone and I think I've got like 1,000 videos of the same blue sky, because every time I find, that's magic. Hearing my children's voice say, "Love you, Mum," that's magic. And so I think that if we look, we're actually surrounded by magic moments wherever we are in this existence and this era where we live. Life really can be beautiful when we look to find it.
Oh my goodness, that was so brilliant. And I think I'm going to have to come to Australia to see you, because my daughter is learning to play the didgeridoo, and she actually plays it quite well, which is an Aboriginal instrument, and she chose that. And so she always has a plan to go to Australia someday, but now I have somebody to come visit when I go there.
Absolutely. So, I can't wait.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And Jodelle, what is your magic moment for today?
Oh, my magic moment for today. I'm going to say that I went for a walk this morning and tried to watch the sun come up. There were a lot of clouds, but it was coming up. So we didn't get to see all of it, but it was coming up. And I do a little tapping, like an EFT, tapping, emotional freedom. And I do that while I'm walking, because I can work through anything that I'm trying to processing, and it really helps you dissolve feelings that you're kind of holding on to. And sometimes I do crying therapy with it, where I'll cry with it and process emotions that way. So
again, another conversation for us another day. But I have found EFT to be the most effective with even with a lot of the clients and therapy clients that I work with, women who are trying to lose weight, to get in touch with their emotions and actually what is going to express it and to release it. And it is the number one for me strategy for reducing someone's high intensity negative emotions and bringing it down, and for seeing that's around it. It's absolutely beautiful and precious technique. So love to talk to you about EFT tapping another time.
Yeah, well, and I think my exquisite moment was this one with you. Like, this has been so much fun. So thank you. Well, I'll let you go for now. And thank you so much. This is awesome. And you're awesome. And we'll keep it going. We're going to do this again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jodelle. It's been wonderful.
I want to assist you on your health journey. I want to unlock your potential and help you become the best version of yourself. If your sleep is off, if your stress eating is high, if your energy is low, and your gut is irritated, I would love to help you repair, relax, rest, and reignite your passions for life. I offer nutrition therapy and lifestyle coaching worldwide via Zoom, FaceTime, or Google Meet, and I believe in your bio-individual needs. No two persons need the same protocol, so as a nutrition detective, I will ask you a slew of questions to get to the why of your health conditions and provide solutions, tips, recommendations to fit your unique needs and your lifestyle. So if you're ready to get fit with Jodelle, just give me an email quickly. It's getfitwithjodelle@gmail.com. You can find that in the link to the show notes. And let's get you on the path to feeling your most optimal self.
Are you experiencing hair loss, hair thinning, hair shedding? What do all these have in common too? This is important to know. It could be your thyroid or even a gut dysbiosis where you aren't absorbing your minerals and your vitamins. And so while you definitely need to address it from the inside first, and I'd love to help you with that too, as I specialize in thyroid issues, you can also start using a really great line of natural hair care products from a company that I love called Buffalo Gal. Now, while you always want to go to the gut first, first. You can definitely have these products on hand because these are formulated with ingredients that actually work from the scalp level. And with things like MSM and hyaluronic acid, you're going to get results using products that actually have medicinal purposes in them at the topical level. So their MSM shampoo bar lathers so well when I use it, and it gives me body and versatility in my hair because I could go straight, I can go curly, but it also gives me a really clean scalp. And their hyaluronic conditioning bar, it detangles my hair, which my hair is really long and really thick, so it gets really tangly. It keeps my curls in place. And I can't say enough about their sea salt hairspray. It comes in a glass bottle. Oh my gosh, like what company makes a glass bottle hairspray? And it also gives you that kind of beachy, tousled sea salt in your hair look, which I love. They only use ingredients that are 100% safe, all natural, organic, centering around their artisanal, multi-species grass-fed tallow. They use a lot of this buffalo and beef tallow in their products, and every single ingredient has a specific and important healing role in their formulation. So I love that because while you definitely want to go at it from a gut level and a thyroid level, you also want to go at it topically with ingredients that actually do something in the scalp. So you can get yours at the link provided in the show notes with Buffalo Gal Grass Fed, and you're going to use my code JODELLE, JODELLE, to get 15% off your purchase of their shampoo bar, their conditioning bar, the sea salt spray. They've got skincare, really great products that I know you're going to love and your body's definitely going to benefit from.